Welcome to Zero Love, the podcast that brings you raw, real, and unfiltered conversations that cut through the noise of the sports world. Brought to you by Intense Tennis. This is where sports meets honesty like never before. And this week, we have pickleball superstar Matt Manasse, who is kind enough to take some time and discuss why he made the transition to pickleball after being such an incredibly successful tennis coach, the risk he took to move to LA when pickleball programs were nowhere in sight at racket clubs, and what is so special about the pickleball community that many of us in the tennis world can also learn from. But before you listen to this episode, I'd really appreciate it if you clicked on the subscribe button and shared us with your friends. And without further ado, I'm JY Aubone, and let's get into Zero Love. All right, Matt, welcome to the Zero Love Show.
Thank you. I'm pumped to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're in LA, right? You're living there full time.
Yep, I'm in LA, in Brentwood. I have a little bit of a congestion, so sorry for the nasally voice, but we'll get through it.
It went around to everybody this
Yeah,
winter, though. I mean, it was rough. I got it too. So,
not to mention the food poisoning in Acapulco for everybody.
man, it happens. It's life.
Yep, yep.
So, you ever miss Florida?
I do. I mean, my parents are in Florida, so I'd like to be there more often. They're actually here behind me on the couch, so
Oh, cool.
visiting for the weekend. But yeah, no, I have a lot of friends in Florida. That's where obviously my junior tennis and high school took place, and yeah, I like Boca, Del Rey. I like visiting Jesse over at Shell Bay. That's always a nice little visit. So
Yeah.
definitely miss South Florida.
Well, I'm moving back, so you got one more reason to go back.
Hell
So,
yeah.
yeah, I'm moving
Where
back.
about? Where exactly?
I mean, like actual Miami area,
Okay,
so yeah,
nice,
closer to the water. So,
amazing.
yeah. But let's get into the important stuff. Let's get to you, man. So, because yeah, I mean, there's people that have journeys, but they have journeys within one part of it. But I think what's so cool is, your vision and understanding and your experience in both sides of both tennis and pickleball.
Right.
You've played and coached at high levels in tennis, and now you've played and coached at high levels in pickleball. You do a lot more as well with your commentating and everything within there. But the thing that really struck me is, okay, and we're going to get into this, right?
Okay.
Tennis players. Now,
Yep.
I'm in the middle, but I got to say it this way because people understand where it's like they say a lot that, pickleballers are just failed tennis players, right?
For sure.
Same people like, oh, the doubles players are failed singles players, right? We've heard that one
Right.
too. But I mean, you had an incredible career path in college tennis. You were arguably one of the best assistant college tennis coaches at
Yep.
Oklahoma
Would
State,
say so.
Duke. You were on your way to a strong head coaching position at some place if you wanted to continue, and you didn't. And so I've been for years I've been wanting to ask this. Our pastors haven't crossed. Thank heavens for this podcast that now I get to do this. What happened?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, I didn't graduate college tennis, as a student athlete at Purdue thinking I wanted to be a college tennis coach. That was never something that I thought about. I always wanted to be a sports agent. I thought I would be the next like Max Eisenbud, Entourage is my favorite show. I thought maybe I'd be in LA, be the next Ari Gold, something of that.
What a show! What a show!
Yeah, exactly. And my first my first internship ever was with IMG. I worked at Babolat after college for a couple of years in sports marketing. So I thought I'd go down that path. My last trip with Babolat though was at a college tennis event at NCA's in Illinois, and I saw a lot of my friends were college coaches at that point. Jeremy Feldman, some other people. And I was like, wow, this looks like fun. And in your early 20s, um, mid 20s, late 20s, it is fun. You're chasing this path, chasing the competition. It's the kids that you're coaching or around your age, so it's exciting and you feel like you're part of everything. And it was cool to be at Wisconsin, a big school right away, and kind of see it from the other side. Obviously, I saw everything as a student athlete, seeing it from the coaching side, you get another type of appreciation for everything. And then Oklahoma State and Duke, we had a lot of success, and it was exciting. But as I was getting, into my, let's say, late 20s, early 30s, the excitement of the day to day of that job wasn't really there for me anymore. I didn't see myself, in 20 years from then, having that passion and rolling out the balls and wanting to be recruiting, 16 to 18-year-old girls and then coaching 18 to 22-year-old girls. I really enjoyed that path while I was there. I think it taught me a lot just to be, learn from different head coaches. First of all, have to deal with the personalities and mindset of 18 to 22-year-old girls and all those emotions and how to deal with that. And
And
obviously,
NIL now,
huh?
and NIL money now, and all
Yeah,
that.
no,
I
yeah,
mean,
that's so.
you
Yeah,
didn't have to deal with that.
I did not.
It came
I did
after,
not.
but oh, that would have
That
been
came
another
after.
layer.
Um, but I don't know. I just looked at kind of the top people in those positions around the country, and it's like, is that what I want to be? And a lot of them are still friends of mine, and I love those people. But I think for me, I just wanted to do something a little bit different. And I tried the pro tour coaching. During college, I coached Dally Risk a little bit while I was at Oklahoma State. Right after, I had a short stint with Shelby Rogers right before the pandemic. Right before that, canceled everything. And for me, the pandemic just came at a perfect time. I mean, I think I exhausted every possibility or every side of the tennis world, right? I'd done the sports marketing bit. Um, I had done the college coaching. I'd done the pro coaching. Obviously, my playing career was fine, but never the heights of you or people above you as well on that side of thing. But for me, I wanted to do something different, and the pandemic allowed me to reset and not have to rush into something. I went home. Unemployment money was nice as well. And I could kind of figure out,
Necessary, yeah.
yeah, and I could figure out that next move. And um, I'm really fortunate that in Erie, Pennsylvania, the people that I used to play tennis with as a kid, I call them the aging tennis community in Erie. They now play pickleball, and they invited me out for pickleball. And for whatever reason, I really just enjoyed it right away.
And so that was it. You just started playing for fun, and that got you in it. That was it.
Yeah,
Just playing in the community there, and
yeah, we like I had nothing to do during the pandemic,
yeah.
and
And when you need to do stuff outside,
I was making TikToks, I was watching news, and I was trying to stay somewhat in shape. Um, and yeah, I got invited, and it was socially distant, and it was outdoors, and um, it was competitive. And the first time I played, I ended up playing with a friend of my dad's actually, and he's this mid 60s guy and was beating me at pickleball because he just knew the dinking, knew some of the speed ups that and the deception. I was like, how am I losing to someone in their mid 60s in this sport? And that right away I was like, all right, I can get better at this thing. And quickly I was obviously the best in Erie, and then I started seeing everything on my Instagram about pro tournaments and all of that. And I was fortunate enough early on. Do you know Ryan Sherry?
yeah, yep.
And Tony Giannone? So Tony put me in touch with Ryan, and I said I wanted to play a pro event. Ryan flew me down to Florida. He's like, "Oh, we got to train together for a week if we're going to play this event." And I didn't even know there was like really a pro tour. I was using a Franklin ball. The tour at the time was using a Durafast 40, which is like completely different.
So the tour
Um,
existed already.
the tour was like they had their first event, the PPA tour, I think pre-COVID. Then COVID hit, and then I think their second event was my first event.
So because
Something like
COVID, nobody
something
really
like
knew
that.
about pickleball before, right? I mean, it was there,
Correct.
but I mean, it got really big during and then right after.
Yeah, I mean there was a full tour. Like these guys obviously Ben Johns, Tyson McGuffin, Simone Jardine, Matt Wright, Lucy Kovalova, those names, they'd been playing for 6 years prior to COVID, like on a pro tour. And there was the US Open and Nationals and some of the bigger events, and then a lot of Moneyball prize money stuff that I didn't know about. But the PPA was really the first time that the sport became professionalized. But if you look at like August 2020 in Newport Beach, what that tournament venue looked like compared to what it looks like now, it's really it's been 5 years, 4.5 years. It's completely different.
Gosh, now I
Landscape's
have so many
at
questions about
180.
now I have so many questions about the pickleball league, but I don't want to divert. Like I want to continue in your story. We might have to do a second one day to do the whole history of pickleball because
The
I didn't know that. Like I knew that people were playing before
yeah,
but I didn't know that it was like a tour already. So that's really interesting.
and
Um,
the cool I'll finish the Ryan Sherry story. So he was partying a lot during that first week when I went to Florida, and I was like, all right, I gotta really train if I'm coming down here. And Tony Giannone was like, well, Ben and Simone are teaching a clinic with me, which with Tony in Orlando. You should you should go to it. And I was like, God, I don't really want to, $600 or whatever. And I was like, I don't really want to pay for this clinic. And he's like, I'm telling you, it'll be the best $600 you ever spend. It's 3 days. You could probably drive with Ben and Simone to Orlando. They're all staying with me for the weekend. Like you're going to learn from the best. Trust me, if you want to play and want to be in the sport, you need to learn the technique and some of the nuance early. I was like, all right, well, I'll do it. So, I'd compare it to like if it was your first 6 months playing tennis to be invited, on a private jet to hang out with Serena and Roger and then learn from them for the week. That's the comparison. And yeah, it was incredible. So I just to see that world, learn the technique, see it up close. You don't realize how good the top pros are until you play with them, and what they can do in such small spaces. And I was given a cool sneak peek pretty early on.
so you got that sneak peek. You get into it.
Yep.
$600 looks like good value.
Yeah.
What happens from there?
Yeah, my first, I went back to Erie and I was just excited about the sport and about the community. And you could see that I'd never been to a clinic, I guess, of any kind really in tennis like that, right? In junior tennis, you grow up, you have you go to the junior clinics, but I don't know, as a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, whatever, you don't look at it the same. Um, and then obviously you're just focused on your own path the whole way. So as an adult, just to see the community that was so locked in and happy to pay that $600 and soaking up every minute of it. And it didn't matter if you were a 5-0 at that clinic or a 3-0. Everyone was just like so happy to be there. It was just very different than what I had seen in other sports and anything I had done. So that was just exciting. My first pro event was in Newport Beach. Um, Seeing the different personalities there was incredible. I went to LA for a week ahead of time to train for that event, and Wes Burrows, who I'd worked with at Babolat, he was telling me these are where the pros train. Come out to Pasadena. Jesse Irvin will be there, and Jeff Warnick and Doug Ellen, the creator of Entourage, he comes out and plays, and it was just like this cool community. And that week, I was invited to play at private courts and played with Sam Query and these people that I didn't really even know from tennis. Now I'm on a court with in pickleball week one, and it's like, all right, this sport's opening doors, and I'm pretty good at it. I think my skill set from tennis actually applies to pickleball, maybe more so than tennis. Um, and yeah, it was just exciting, and I made that decision right away. And that week, I was like, I'm going to move out to California and use pickleball in some capacity to make a career out of it. I wanted to, coach at the Riviera Country Club. I knew that's where all the stars were and a lot of fun connections. And I'd been there before because of All Americans on the women's side was held there for 4 years while I was in college or while I was coaching. Um, and I moved out, a month later to California.
But they didn't have a pickleball program, right?
They did not. No,
So you took a chance.
I took a chance. I put
Unemployment check. You need that job. You're taking a chance.
so I had employment till the end of the year. Um, I drove out there. I put on Facebook. It was what's his name? Bill. Bill Oakes.
Just by name, not personally.
The
Yeah.
He was the tournament director at Winston-Salem Open, and he was an AD at Wake for a while. I put on Instagram or Facebook. I was like, I'm looking for a place in California, like to rent. Like, does anyone have a guest house? Like, I need it on the cheap. So, preferably West Side, yada yada. Somehow, it was like a friend of his was looking to fill a spot, and it was a 350 square foot garage studio in the Palisades for $1,500 a month.
Man,
And it had a one stove burner. It had a mini fridge, mini freezer, and I drove across country with my dad a month later, and I lived there for better part of almost 2 years when I moved out here, and it was a 5 minute drive from the Riv. Uh, and that's where I was never there. I was always either coaching or out trying to kind of figure out how to get ahead in LA. It took about 5 or 6 months to get the job at the Riv. No one would return my emails. Finally, I met a member at the Riv, Natalie Bagby, and she convinced the Riv director to let me come out and teach a clinic and see if they like it. And they didn't have pickleball courts. They had some like that they would tape once in a while just to introduce to the members, but they really hadn't done anything. So Wes and I did a 16-person clinic at the Riv. A month later, they called me back. They're like, "We're not sure yet. We want to see how you work in smaller groups with just women. We think it's going to be a lot of women that are at these clinics." So I did a small group and kind of just exploded from there.
But I mean, 5 to 6 months. I mean, that's a while. I mean, had any were there thoughts of like, man, I don't know if this is gonna work out. Not getting the response I thought I would get. What do I
It
do?
was,
Because it wasn't that big enough yet. And now, like you talk
yeah,
pickleball, like it's everywhere. I mean, all right,
right.
Matt, come on in. Yeah, come on in. How did that feel? I mean, you'd gone through the unemployment. You're trying to figure it out. Now you're there. What do you do?
It was, I don't know, it was such an interesting time, and it went by fast. I mean, I moved out October 2020. I played a pro event in Vegas 3 weeks later. I feel like at that time, LA was about to shut down again. So, like, really, no one was working. So it was like I was playing so much pickleball at the public parks every day. We played twice a day, training. It was still like full pandemic mode, world shut down. So there was no real, I guess, urgency. I didn't think about it. In December, LA shut down. I went home. I ended up getting appendicitis actually, so I was stuck home another 6 weeks after that. And then I came back, and then things started to open up a little bit, and I think LA started to get more excited that things were going on. And the Riv I think happened around March. So um, yeah, I taught high school tennis out here for 3 months. Maybe Riv started a little later. I was teaching high school tennis for a couple months. I would intern at, I don't know if you know the brand Uomo or Donna
Yeah.
Sport. I helped Steven Siebert out a couple days a week at Uomo. I was still teaching some tennis lessons. I had the basketballs in my trunk with my racket, and
Surviving.
uh, yeah, I was doing a lot of different stuff to pass time, to make a little bit of extra cash, and figure it all out. And some of the connections through the high school coaching and all these things, everything you do helps a little bit. And as long as I said yes to a lot of different things for sure the first few years here, and it's all worked. And um, yeah, the Riv was great because it just introduced me to a lot of people. I remember, I won't say the client's name, but her husband, I told him kind of my vision of what I wanted to do, of, not use the Riv, but look, these are very powerful people. I was giving them obviously entertainment and education on a pickleball court, and they were loving it. And in return, I kind of got to learn from them of what makes someone successful in LA, and some of those connections, and obviously having some of those names on my resume helped as well. But he told me like my first month at the Riv, he's like, if you're here in 2 years, you're something's wrong. Like you're doing it wrong. And fast forward 2 years, and I'm not there. And there's some other things on the horizon. So he was right. There was the Riv was a perfect launching pad for sure.
Did you ever have any thoughts? And this is more personal for me. Whenever things have been struggling on the career side of stuff, I just wonder, should I just go back to just teaching at, those clubs or those
For
jobs
sure.
that
Yeah.
you could
Yeah.
get really quick, put some
Yeah.
money in the bank, and you don't really want to do it. I mean, did you have those thoughts like, dude, just go back to college tennis, just get that head coaching job you're good enough to do, and that's it. Why go through all this? Did you ever have those thoughts, or you were gone from it?
I think the only time I had some of those thoughts were early on in the pandemic, even really before finding pickleball. So that first month or two when I was back in Erie, Pennsylvania, I was still, so fresh from pro coaching, right? I would just come home from Indian Wells, so fresh really from coaching at Duke. I just finished in September, so a couple months removed. And that was my world. I was still friends with, all my text chains were college tennis coaches. I was being invited to Zooms and meetups that were all college tennis coaches. So I was like, maybe that's an easier path. But to be honest, I didn't miss it. There was thoughts, obviously, will I miss it? Is this fresh? Is it the only reason I don't miss it is because it's so fresh? But I don't know. It was a different world for me. Not to say that I can't work for people, but I definitely like being my own boss and kind of chasing my own opportunities as opposed to just being told when and where and what. Um, so yeah, that didn't really cross my path or my mind too much.
I want to go back to something that you mentioned that I'm close to admitting that I'm full on jealous of in a of the pickleball community. Something that you mentioned that to me it's one of the biggest thing that sticks out and one of the biggest things tennis needs to learn from it. I wanted to get your thoughts on, which is the community aspect behind pickleball. I think
Yeah,
Padel has some of this as
yeah,
well. That it's just a way more welcoming community. Like
for sure.
they it doesn't matter the level of the player. If they find out that you've never played, they can't wait to get you on the court and try the sport. In
Correct.
tennis, like you're never going to see like a great player. Very rarely, like especially you've never played tennis. All right, go practice some, and then let us know when you get better in 4, 5, 10, 15 years, right? Because it's just
Right,
never going to happen.
exactly.
They don't want to. They don't want to lose that 1 hour. But for pickleball players, it just seems like it's not so much about they just want to get you in and show you how much fun it
Yeah,
is. And
I don't, yeah, there's something about it. And I think, I can just speak to some of the communities I have been a part of, in Erie, Pennsylvania, one, and then here in LA. Like in Erie, some of the people that Elena and Mike Arnold, who I started playing with, they had never played. They're friends from middle school. They're actually friends of friends from middle school, and they never picked up a racket of any kind in their life. Maybe racquetball a little bit, and they did not want to try pickleball. And I was so adamant that on my I forget what birthday it was, the birthday that I was in Erie for. I was like, everyone's got to come out and play and try this out. I don't know why. Again, it's like something about the sport, but they got so hooked up into it, and they're hooked to the sport. And now they're some of the best players in Erie, Pennsylvania, but they own a club now there. They're the head of the Erie Pickleball Players Association. They give their time all the time to help people below them. They're on the court. They can be on the court 8 hours a day. They don't care. There's something about teaching someone else and having genuine excitement. I think the fact that you can pick up a paddle or, in Padel, a racket, paddle, whatever, um, and kind of find some success right away, it's not as daunting from a coaching standpoint or even, an ambassador standpoint to help someone get going because the commitment maybe is not that long. It's like, all right, I can teach you the rules. I could teach you the scoring. I can give you some tips. And like, probably in 20 minutes, you'll be able to go out and at least somewhat play a game. And LA is the same thing. I mean, Memorial Park is where a lot of us were playing during the pandemic. They had taped lines and Wes Burrows and Doug Ellen and Julio Rivera and all these people out here. We would go and put up our own net and play for hours. And on the weekends, we'd jump in with, 70-year-old people and get them excited about it. And it's just something that is, you can't, yes, you can't, it doesn't happen in tennis. I haven't seen it. Um, and for whatever reason, there's just a lot of excitement. And I am when someone tries pickleball or even now paddle, and you see the excitement on their face, and it's fun for them. Um, yeah, it makes you want to do it again. And I've gone out to the courts with my parents and done it too. We've taped lines on the before my parents' community had pickleball courts. We taped lines on a basketball court in Florida and did the same thing. And it's just I don't know. There's something about the sport. You're right.
yeah, when I that was my first experience, so I was trying to find any court to teach a lesson on, make any kind of money during the pandemic, and I'd go to this one park, and there were like 4 or 5 courts lined up, and there were people like making their own court, right, with the lines and bringing the net, lugging it. I
Yep.
mean, and older people like lugging this stuff around, and I'm like, and then this part got me. Some of them are sitting, waiting their
Yep.
turn, but watching happily. Like
Yes.
it's entertainment even for them to watch. They're just happy sitting there. First, I can't imagine a single tennis player grabbing nets, which, by the way, I do have to give credit. One of the families I was teaching tennis with in the pandemic, they took the nets down at the park. They bought their own net.
Wow.
I'm like, you guys are awesome. I can't believe I didn't think about that as a coach. But so I can't imagine most tennis players having to draw their lines, bring tape, bring a net, and oh my gosh, no way they're going to sit there and wait their turn for 20 minutes to play, right? They want to play the whole time they're there or they're gone,
Right.
right? So that's why I'm like, okay, what is going on over here?
It's first of all, it's all doubles. You're so close to each other. I mean, you know, and have you played paddle now already too?
Oh, that was a life-changing experience. Forget tennis. It's over for me. Sorry.
I,
Sorry, intense tennis. I'm done.
there's just something about, well, I think this is the shift for me, and it's tennis too. I think because when I coached high school tennis for the first time ever in my life, right when I moved to LA because I needed to do something, um, and to coach something where people are there just to have fun and don't have this uh, high achieving mentality, and that was so new to me. And to adjust the expectations, first of all, as a coach, and then just be like, all right, I'm okay if we're just going to have a fun practice. Yes, of course, I want them to learn something, and like I'm still going to make sure the technique is somewhat good and improving. But once I saw and changed my mentality of like, all right, these girls are just here to have fun. Like it was so different, and I think so many of the people in tennis that are good coaches or even that go to clubs had such a demanding experience themselves that it's hard to fully make that adjustment of like, all right, all these people are just here to have fun. You know, I don't they don't need to be unbelievable. And if they don't have those expectations, I don't need to look down on them any different. Like I'm here to make sure that they're having a blast and we can cardio tennis can be the coolest thing in the world or um the live ball can be the coolest thing, or the ladies doubles league can be the coolest thing, and it doesn't have to be this like, I can't believe, Karen is complaining about her double. It's like, no, this for Karen, this is really big and awesome and exciting, and it's like we can cater to Karen because for her, this is her new experience in tennis, and I think for whatever reason, pickle and paddle on the coaching side and the ambassador side, people really understand that it's about the entertainment and it's about the community and it's about growing and it's about everyone who enters the sport can have their own path in it and not everyone has to have this high achieving mentality. And it's it took me a second to adjust to that as well.
Yeah, I struggled at first. I started working in a country club. That was my first
Hmm.
full-time tennis job. And it was great for me to understand people can enjoy tennis in different ways, and that's
Yeah.
okay. And I think with kids, uh, parents, a lot of people struggle to think that they like when I tell them it's okay if your child likes playing tennis but doesn't like playing tournaments.
Right.
It's okay, and they try to force the competition side and the
Right.
improvement side so much without ever really giving the child an opportunity to just go play for fun.
Yeah.
It's okay
And
if
it
your surf grip doesn't change.
and it's just so interesting because I think you were a much better tennis player than I, but the experiences that we had, and I'm sure, I was pushed by my parents. I'm sure you were as well. You had coaches that pushed us. I wouldn't change any of those things because I think that has really made a difference in who I am and what I do for work now. Like I'm a pretty driven person and a competitive person, and the values from tennis teaches so much, but it's not for every kid. Not every parent needs to do that. Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. If I haven't read Michael Costa's book, I'd like to, but I think how he's turned in such a great tennis career, or in his words, probably a subpar tennis career into what he's done is awesome too. But without tennis, he doesn't do that.
Yeah. So where do you
And
see
it's interesting.
Where do you see pickleball going from here? I mean, so much has been done. You know, what's next? I mean, you guys got the tours going, the travel.
Yeah.
You're on the tennis channel, maybe pickleball channel one day. I mean, what's next that you guys are trying to grow to?
Well, yeah. So Pickleball TV is its own channel, its own app. Um, it's not its own linear channel yet. But yeah, it's its own app, and it runs around the clock. So just adding more content there. Um, I think it's going to continue to grow. Obviously the recreational level, it's booming. I see at the pro level that it's booming as well. There's more and more talent coming in uh, by the day, it seems, and I think the level is getting higher and higher, and it's becoming more fun to watch. Um, I don't know. I think there's been a lot of fun milestones that we've hit. We have multiple professional leagues. There's a lot of celebrity involvement. You have it on TV networks. I think it's still in its infancy in terms of awareness and then global reach. Um, you are getting Asia into it, but I think Europe still has a long way to go.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously, the Olympics in 2032, I think, is what people have their eyes set on. Um, I think it should be an Olympic sport at that point. I think it's getting competitive. I mean, I don't know if you've watched some of the matches lately, singles, doubles. I mean, it is entertaining. It's fast. It's athletic. Um, so we'll see. I don't know what's next. I mean, I know the people having their own facilities. That's happening everywhere. So we're not just taking tennis courts anymore, which is a good thing. People are building their own facilities. I'm part of a few. We're building some in LA as well. Um, so yeah, it's just continuing growth, having fun. It doesn't seem to be slowing down. My group chats every day are still firing away with what time are we playing pickleball, which 5 years ago, I was like, is this going to happen every day for forever that people are just going to want to play constantly? And yeah, that's the case.
Yeah, two things there. To all the tennis players that were always complaining about like pickleballers taking over their courts, I was like, if you guys were playing, they wouldn't be there. They're
Exactly.
there because they're not being used. And one of the parks that I would teach at, they have great courts not far from my house. They were empty when I first started there,
Yeah.
and then pickleballers started coming in and started coming
Yeah.
in, and I never saw a new influx of tennis players coming in, but I would see
Hmm.
more of the pickleball, and they've stayed. And it's been really cool actually to watch that community stay and continue to come out on early
Yeah.
mornings and all of that. But yeah, I was always like, if y'all were playing, they wouldn't have courts to use. So
Yeah.
there's a problem with tennis there. Maybe we had too many courts, but they're not being used. So tennis players, stop complaining, go play.
Correct.
So, but yeah, no, and we were talking. We had mentioned padel as well. I mean, what are your thoughts there? You started to play a little bit,
Yeah. Started to play. I actually watched some pros play the other day. First of all, I think the sport is awesome. I think it's a great spectator sport as well. It's fast, it's dynamic, it's creative. It's not just about pace. There's so much nuance to it. Um, it's the polo of racket sports, if you ask me. It's right. It's elite. The cost to build a court is insane. So, and you need more space than the pickleball. So, um, the growth in the U.S. will be slower. I think 65,000 pickleball courts currently, only 500 paddle courts. So that's the gap here in the States. So it's going to take a while to grow, but it is unbelievable to get
yeah,
the feeling off that racket. I was watching Four Pros the other day here, and it's awesome. I have some work to do because the I realized from the back when you're hitting through the ball, it's really not slice stuff from back there. It's more of like a flatter. There's a little bit of top spin, but it's kind of like just more old school. Like McEnroe would probably be great at paddle, and it's just exciting. Yeah, I love it.
yeah. To me, it was when I first played it. I thought it was like the bridge between pickleball and tennis.
Right.
So at least look, I'm coming from tennis, so the hand-eye is already there to play
Yeah.
pickleball. So it was almost a little too easy to get started.
Right.
And but I put myself in the shoes of somebody who wants to like run more, be more athletic. But
Yeah.
tennis at first can be so hard. Like if you're an
Yeah.
adult trying to play tennis for the first time, I'm going to admit it, it can be an absolutely miserable experience.
Yeah.
And the court is so big, you have to go walk to get the ball and start over. And I love that with padel, the court's smaller, the ball's right there, you can play pretty quick.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as pickleball, but it's also not as hard as tennis. And I'm like, this is a perfect bridge between the two, I thought.
Right. For sure.
Yeah, I
100, yeah,
want
100%.
I want to see more facilities with more of just overall the entire racket experience. We're starting to get
I agree.
tennis and pickleball, but I'd love to see a little padel, a little
Yeah,
pickleball, a little squash. Let's get a little tennis.
I agree.
And
I think that's going to be more and more where, and you're seeing it with like the director jobs now. It's not tennis director, it's rackets director, or stuff like that, because all these facilities are changing. The facility we're having in LA is going to be um, paddle and pickle.
can you give
Um,
the name? You want to give the name, the
I think it's
location?
gonna. We don't. It's gonna. There's gonna be one in Beverly Hills. So I'm part of Crush Yard too, which is in Orlando and Charleston, and we're building a couple in Nashville and Huntsville, Alabama. Um, but in LA, I'm gonna be part of like a. I'm gonna be more on the paddle side there instead of pickle, but paddle and pickle. I don't even know if we have a name. It's like LA Pickleball is kind of the branding. But we're gonna be in Beverly Hills. We're gonna be in Marina Del Rey, Santa Monica. A couple of facilities opening. I think the next one's going to be Santa Monica. So um, it's exciting. Yeah. I have you played with like pros yet for paddle,
No, no.
or have you watched pros
Yeah.
live?
Oh,
Live.
live? No, no. Just like on video and stuff like that.
I think if you watch it live, I'm not saying that it's harder than tennis, but there is an element that is like crazy to this sport as well. Like I definitely have some respect for the pros, because how they see the court, how they're moving, it's pretty impressive. Are they Novak Djokovic impressive? Who knows? But it's pretty insane.
Oh, well, come on. Bouncing an overhead over the fence, going out to get it, hitting back. Okay, come on. Like, I don't care who you are. That's you're insane of an athlete.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
they're
think
nuts.
that from the fan experience too, for pickle and padel, being able to be so much closer to the
Yeah,
action provides a better fan experience. Like, I mean, even if you have to be very front row to, and even then, some of these stadiums you're pretty far from
right.
like the main player. As you start to go up, it's still a good experience, but it gets a little farther away. And then two, this is why we've started the intensity to try to create a format in tennis where they're playing more often. If you're there in person, like 80% of the match is there's just walking around, going to the towel, sitting down. In tennis, in padel and
Correct.
pickle, they're also playing more faster, so you're
Correct.
constantly watching.
Correct. I agree with you. It's a shorter run time, but they're playing the entire time. And I do like what tennis is doing at the U.S. Open. I love the new mixed doubles idea. They're having the qualies week. I think that's going to be great for the sport. Some may disagree, maybe the doubles players, but to get the top players in tennis, the stars, out to play mixed, you're going to have everyone tuning in for that.
Well, you
That's
have to
going to be sick.
try. Maybe
You
it
got it.
doesn't work. You have to try. You can't just keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. So,
Exactly.
if it works, awesome, and if it doesn't work, okay, everyone would try something new. But I want to ask this one final question. It's a
Yep.
question I want to start asking everybody, which is, what's been the most intense challenge that you've had to go through, especially in this transition from tennis to pickleball, and even where you are now?
Yeah. I think the biggest challenge is, I don't know, continuing to advocate for myself. And I guess, like, for me, like, public speaking and being not in the spotlight, but like having to kind of, I don't know, when I was in tennis for the longest time as an assistant coach or as a player, like, there's a lot of people that are buffers for you. And now more of, I guess a pickleball world, I'm an entrepreneur, and now I'm commentating and all of that stuff, just being comfortable, in your own skin, and speaking and doing all that stuff. That's been a tough adjustment that I wasn't used to at the beginning. Now I am. Um, but yeah, just continuing to not compare myself to others. I think that's the hardest part probably as well, especially in LA. There's, you do well, but then you look around, you're like, oh, well, I don't live in that house. I don't drive that car. I don't have that girl, whatever. So it's the comparison game can be tough, even if you're doing well, and just focused on your own path, love the work, and that's it.
That's awesome, man. All right. Well, this is great, Matt. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It's fun.
All right.
How long have you been doing the pod?
Um, about like a month now.
Okay, okay,
About a month. So we're starting to roll things out, get it bigger, bigger.
amazing.
Yeah. So if you can, I think it would be great for me. I would love to, if you can get some more pickleball people that might be interesting to talk to, man. It would be, I love like when I see happiness and passion and love behind anything,
Yeah,
especially in sports, like we got to get more people in there, right? Because for me, I look, we all can agree. I assume we can all agree that this country needs to be a happier and healthier place, right?
for sure. Yep.
And I see pickleball doing that. Okay,
Yeah.
it's an easier sport than tennis. Fine. People
Right.
are having a better life for it. Social circles, getting
Right.
outside, fresh air,
Yep.
everything doctors recommend. Pickleball is bringing out. So if we can bring more people into it, and expose what it can do to change somebody's life for the best, we got to talk about it. We got to get people in
Yep.
there. So,
Amen.
all right,
Yep. I
man.
agree.
All
All right.
right.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.